Ahoy sailors, this is your captain, Papi Bazooka, and in this video I will be talking about liveries, basically showing you some steps that you can take to add graphics to your boat, sails, hulls, or uh, change colors, add your own flag and things of that nature. Um, First, I have to put a disclaimer that I am not an expert in that, right? There are a lot of people out there who make this almost a job, actually even sell deliveries. And of course, they are much better than me at doing so, right? But at least I want to put a little video for people who have never done that. So they have a basic understanding on how to do that and learning some basic, simple steps that allows you to have some fun with your boat, right? And like on my boat right here, you see I add the logo on my sail. It is on actually both sides. I add a name on the bow of the boat. And if I go here in the back and take a look at my stern, and you see I put my own flag, right? I also add the name of the boat and where the boat, where is this main port, in gold letters, right? So there's a lot of things you can do. I'm not, Livery does not modify the boat in any way, right? It's purely graphic, right? Uh, think about putting stickers on it or a coat of paint on it, right? That's kind of the extent, right? And of course, there are liveries that are very fancy, and there are some that are very simple, right? It's basically up to you as far as how much do you want to put into this, right? And have some fun with it. Uh, Another thing that I have to mention about liveries is if you actually go into your boat inventory, right? You have your boat, and this is basically the boat that you are currently running. Further down, you will have also an option for liveries. Now, liveries can be created for your own personal good. Or you can potentially, if you're really good at it and make really nice design, you could potentially basically sell those libraries, right? So if I go to this one here, my library, I just put one there to show you, and I go to the edits. There is option actually to basically set this on the marketplace for Sailaway 3, right? Which of course I did not do. Keep in mind that if you intend to sell it and basically make money out of it, you got to make sure that you are entitled to use the graphic you put on there, right? So the images that you have, if you grab them from the internet or whatever and just copy them, you have to be careful with that, right? Because uh, if you're making money on somebody else's design, that potentially could put you in trouble, right? So if that's the case, always make sure you create your own design from scratch, right? And then make it so it is really your own. Right? I'm not doing that. Right? All the libraries I'm doing is for my own. Now, there is a choice that you can make. So in my boats, after the fourth one, I believe you need to pay a fee for any boat you want to add in your my boat category, which is 15 bubbles, like $1.50, right? And you can start designing, and change your boat. Like this boat right here is a full design that I did. Same with well, the one I just show you, this guy, right? And you can do the library by clicking on this icon, and we'll get there in a second. But if you do this there, you have to be careful that not removing the boat, because if you do remove the boat from there because you say, hey, I don't want to pay for an extra slot, I want to reuse a slot, doing so will basically cancel all the work you put in that boat, right? You're losing everything you did. Versus if you do it as a livery, as I show you at the bottom there, um, you can reuse this at any time. So if you cancel your boat at the top and say, okay, I want this boat again, you can reuse your livery over and over. You're not losing anything. It's a choice. A boat slot is 15 bubbles. A livery is 25 bubbles, right? So it depends what you want to do. I just want to make sure that you're aware that removing a boat from your boat assets will cancel all the work you put into it and you can't get it back, right? So just be careful, think about it, whatever approach you want to do, right? Personally, I intend to keep these all the time. I'm not going to make multiple libraries for different boats. So I'd rather pay the 15 bubbles versus the 25, right? But you do whatever you want there, right? So let's take a look at this boat right here, for example. So if you want to change the livery, you basically click on this icon here, which is the little paintbrush. And that will give you your boat, right? The way you have it now. And of course, mine you see also already have the design on it and so on. And then you have a select boat part. And typically, although this can look very different for all the different boats, right? Typically, everything about the hull part at the top, everything about the sails is at the bottom, and then anything in between. And the in between is what changes a lot for many of the boats, right? And so you can basically customize each of those items independently, right? Add graphic, change color, whatever the case may be. Okay, so that's what it looks like. What I'm going to do is basically go and take another copy that I took of the 38. Oh, let's close this. Let's close that. And my Sailaway. So this is basically a blank boat that comes standard with Sailaway 3. Right? And so we are going to, oh, I shouldn't have clicked on that. I should have clicked directly on the paintbrush for it, but that's okay. We'll go back to it. And here we go. And there is the boat. So at first it's like, well, what am I picking here, right? And it can be a little bit confusing. One of the trick I've done is like, well, Windows cabin. Okay, I don't want to change that. But let's say I want to change the color of the hull of the boat right here. Instead of being all white, I want something different, right? So you're going to basically have to go and check out, well, what is what, right? And so here it looks like there's some colors that they've been assigned. There's a map, but there's really no graphic. And so, what is that? If you're not sure, an easy trick is say just assign a different color, and there you go. Now you say, oh, okay, that's the top of the boat right there. If that is not what you want, go and pick something else. Right at the bottom of this menu, there is a revert and a save. Obviously, do not save. If you save, you end up with a red top there. Uh, you could revert, and that, of course, will remove what you did. But easy enough, also, what you can do as an alternative method is just pick another part. So I'm going to make this one red again. And then instead of that, no, that's not what I want. So I'm going to go and pick hull 4 instead. And you see the red is gone, right? And now I'm in another part of the boat. Same thing. What am I looking at? I'll click on the red. Ooh, that's the bottom of the hull there. Not what I want. I'll go to the next one. Uh, oh, Let's try this one. We'll make it yellow. Hey, then that is the one I want, right? And let's say that I want to make this kind of a like navy blue. And of course, you can play with this array of colors. If you know the exact code for it, you can type it in as well, right? And then basically you would at the bottom, you would just go hit save, right? And you'd go down to whatever you want to change, right? And you can go down and select different colors for everything, every single part. It's just you having to go patiently through all those items and try to figure out what they are and then change the color for that, right? So changing color is pretty easy. Well, let's say that the very first thing I want to do is basically put my own flag in there. So, how do we do that? How do we add a graphics? Well, first of all, you need to have your graphics ready, right? And typically, what I do is, I may go on the internet and search, right? So, like for your flag, for example, I go on the internet and I bring a window and say, Belgium flag, right? Or whatever your your flag is, right? And then if you go to images, there we go, and there are a bunch right there, right? And then you could copy this image. You can do a snippet or screen capture or whatever, right? This is for your own, so it doesn't matter. You can pretty much take any graphic that you want, right? And then the idea is to have that saved, right? I use Snagit, and so I can do screen capture, very similar to Snippet, but much more advanced. And then when I want to do some work on my graphic, I basically do this in PowerPoint. You can obviously use any graphic type and everything, but unless you want to be really advanced, being able to edit graphics, uh, PowerPoint is actually a pretty decent tool, right? You can do a lot of things there. And then once you have your graphic, right, you can paste it in here, right? And it could be anything. PowerPoint is actually a lot of available picture that are free to get, and I can probably Belgian flag and see what it and there you go. So I could actually say, yeah, that's what I want, insert that, and there you go, and that's my graphic. And of course, you would get rid of the text here right below below, or crop that out, whatever. um, One thing about graphic is you want to keep them small, not too big. Like I don't want a Belgian flag taking this whole page, right? And that's because of performance. Once you add and keep on adding graphics, uh, you will eventually affect the performance of your boat, right? I've not ran into trouble yet, but that is something definitely that has been told, by the developer and everything. So as you use texture and everything, keep your graphic small when you import it, and then you can always resize it and everything when you get to the boat, right? And then once you have the graphic that you want, you need to make this as a picture, and typically I always create them mine as PNGs, or you could be a JPEG, or depending what kind of picture you want, right? If like this graphic is taking the entire flag, it does not need to be a PNG. The advantage of a PNG, it's like you can remove all background, right? Like I did this work here. If I select those items, you see it goes over the blue. Uh, it has no background. That's the big advantage of a PNG. Uh, but if your graphic is going to take and cover the item entirely, then it doesn't matter. It could be a simple JPEG, right? And so you can just right click on the item and then save as a picture, give it a name, and store it in the folder somewhere, right? So I've done already this for the flag. So how do we get there on the boat itself? Well, as I mentioned, the flag and the sails are at the bottom, and you have here flag number one. So if we pick that, this one has a texture that you see here. Uh, and this is the flag it has. All you have to do for this guy is just cancel it and then import your own. So we're going to go in there. As you see, I've imported quite a few graphics already. At the bottom of this, you can say add new texture. So go and get your image. There's a folder there. Click on that and then navigate on your system locally where those graphics are. And then you select your graphic that you want and then click the save, and that will add it uh, to this. Right? And this is the list of graphic that I have. Once you put them here, those graphics are available for all your boat. Right? This is kind of like your SA3 graphic library, if you would, right? And then you pick on, let's say, I want to add the American flag, right? So, hello, there we go. And there it is. And I'm going to save that. And now I can go and take a look at this, the flag. Of course, there's no wind, right? But here it is, right? It has been saved there. To navigate around in this UI, you basically can use the AWSD page up, page down, and so on. Right, and so you can go around and look at your boat as far as what you want to do. Okay, and so for the flags, it's easy because it's going to cover the entire item. So, what about sales? Sales can become a little bit more complicated, again, depending of what you want to do. So, we're going to take the main sale here, for example, right? And here it is, nice and white. There are sometimes a couple of different files for the sail. Like you have the sail itself, right? The core base of the sail, and then you have also one that people create for seams, is where actually they decide to put in the design the sewing, right, or the reinforcement that the sail is in, right? And so that's additional graphic. And of course, you can say, I want this or I don't want that. You can always, blank those out if you want to. But this sale, it's easy because there's only just this one right here, nothing else. So, I think, actually, let's go back and check. Oh, no, main seams, right? So this supposed to have seams. Yep, you see there the reinforcement, right? Those kind of arcs right there. Those are shadows, but there's a little bit, and it's not really dark or whatever, but you can see what those seams are, right? And then you can turn those on and off, like opacity is 100%. If you don't want to see those at all, you can basically drag your opacity to zero, and that will remove them. You can basically no longer see them, right? But leave them that. We go back again to our sails. And now again, easy. I want to change color, easy enough, right? That you can always do. All right. But what about adding graphics? So here again, I'm going to add something. Um, and you can add it as textures or you can add it as an overlay. It depends again what you want to do. If you want to do the entire sail with your graphic, at that point, I recommend using the main texture and export the UV file. And when you export the UV file, it creates a PNG files. And let's go and take a look at that. And we can open that in our, I'm going to create a new slide here. There we go. And get rid of that text. Okay. And I'm going to insert from this device, and I should have, I believe it's saved here, or maybe not. Save, oh yeah, not in graphic. There we go. Right. And that's it. So this is your cell, but this is actually looking at both side of your cell, right? Kind of imagine you have your cell and you split it in half and butterfly it, right? So you're going to have the port and the starboard side of your cell. The idea, if you want a graphic that goes and cover all of it, is then to use this UV file, right? And so you import this in here, PowerPoint. Then I'm going to go get my graphic again, insert and a picture from this device. And now I'm going to go in my graphic and I'm going to, let's say, I'm going to use this right here, insert. And this is a graphic, and I basically copy and paste, right, and make it one picture. And then you want to cover that entire cell, right? So I'm going to extend it there. I'm going to, oh, no, that's not the one I want. I'm going to extend it there and extend it way at the top, right? And so it's going to take this image and basically wrap it on that cell on both sides, right? And now once you do that, again, you want to select all that, select all, there we go, and then right click and save as picture. Right? And I already did that, so I'm not going to do this again. I already have this graphic for this boat. So I'm going to go back again to Sailaway tree, and here in the main, make sure you hit the X button. Sometimes there's something very light, you can barely see it, but there's something there. So you want to make sure you clean that out. And then you're going to now bring that picture, which I have actually right here. Right? I already imported it. And there you go. And so now you see this graphic covers the entire cell. And if I go on the other side, you see that this image is there too. Right? And now this is for the main cell, but you see now you can clearly see those seams, right? Those reinforcing seams there. So what we could do, I'm just going to go ahead and save this. There we go. And then I'm going to go back to the seam of for that cell, main seams. And I'm going to basically turn down the opacity there. Oh, yeah. And save that. Oh, how come it's not changing? Uh, it should. Okay. Oh, main seams. Visible or not visible? No, that's not it. That's when we want to look at it on the main. So why is this not working now? That's interesting. Uh, let's go out of this. Go back. Let's go bring something else. That's the Jenniker. Let's go back to again the main cell. And let's go back to the main seams. And what if I change this to black? Oh, I think these are actually not the main seam, you see, because if I make opaque or not, you see the edge actually something happens. So this is actually not the correct one. So main seam. So let's go back to our main cell then. And I forgot which one it was. Opacity, then of course, that's this one. Oh, but you see, it makes everything opaque. So that means that these actually are part of that. And so it could be that it's part of the map. So what if I blank this? No, What if I blank? Make sure I blank these guy out. My goodness. As I told you, I'm not an expert with that. But I did it before, so I'm not sure. I've kind of forgot now. How did I get rid of that? Um, that is interesting. For some reason, I cannot get rid of those guys. Huh. I will have to actually look at my other boat uh, to recall. Unfortunately, it is currently in an event, so I cannot do any editing to it. Um, oh, this is interesting. I may have to actually add what happening here in the comment once I post the video. Uh, yeah, because I don't see anything there, and I really thought it was all part of the scene, but I guess these have a quarter circle, whatever, are something else, and I can't remember what it was. So that's okay. Let's just move on. See, this one is in an event right now, so I cannot do any editing. So we'll go back there and take another look at what else we can do. Um, when it comes to placing things on the hull, that again can be a little challenging. So if I remember correctly, right, we were looking at the at this one. Yeah, that was the one, right? So we'll leave it one. And again, here, yeah, I want to add a graphic there, the name of the boat, or whatever I want to be doing, right? At that point, I can go again to the main texture, or I can go to overlay. Typically, if you don't want to cover the entirety of the item, you can use overlay, right? And you have two overlay that you can use. So here, for example, let's add, and I've got the orca name, for example, or sub or whatever. Yeah, I'll take that, right? And you see right now it puts it there. Keep in mind that when you add something on an overlay, you may actually first not see it, right? So two things that you got to make sure. First, your opacity is 100%, right? It's not all the way down because obviously then you don't see it. The second, it's also where you're projecting. Right now, I say project from starboard and port. So it's going to do on both sides. But let's take a look at that actually. And I'm going to go, this orca right there looks correct. And I'm going to go on the other side. Mhm. And now this orca is totally backward, right? So it's basically, if you would, taking that image in a center plane through the entire boat, and it projects it left and right, right? So obviously then on the other side, you're going to have um, a mirror image of it, right? So in this case, what you want to do is, instead of using that option, and you can project from starboard only, port only, from above, from below, and from front, whatever the case may be. Uh, but if you need something that's mirror to what, or not mirror, actually, that shows correctly on both sides, you're going to have to do basically in two steps. You're going to have to add it on the starboard side, and then you're going to have to add it on the port side, right? And so here we're going to play overlay one, and we're going to put that on the starboard side only, right? Now the port side is empty. And now I can go and to the overlay two and add it, and then of course change, how I want to display that one. Now, position. is another interesting item here, because not uncommon that when you place it for the first time, and it all depends on the boat, they will all be going to be different. Again, you may not see it, or it may end up at a totally different location, right? And this is where you need to play with size in X and Y, so horizontally and vertically, right? Basically, sizing the image that you import to match on the boat. And then on the offset, again, horizontally and vertically, right? And you can add negative values, right? So, and often it doesn't take much at all to move it. Like, for example, you have this size of 0.075, right, which is pretty small. Well, let's make this point 2. And you see suddenly, boom, oh, yeah, it does get pretty big pretty fast, right? So I'm going to 0.07 again. There we go. And now location is exactly the same, right? It says, oh, it's at 0.70, but from where? That again, from one boat to another, that will change. So you are going to have to play around this. And I know this is a little bit more difficult if when you first place it, you don't see anything. What I like to do is make the image bigger so it covers more area, and then start moving it, right? And then shrink it again. And you need to do this by small increment. For example, if I point 0.5, let's say I go 0.1, you see it puts it way over there, right? So it moves pretty fast. Obviously, now if I go to, okay, 1, it's off the boat, right? And so there's no really easy way to do this that I have found. Uh, you're just going to have to play with those numbers to move it around, right? You can also rotate the graphic as you see here. So, depending on how you want it, right? And then obviously play with the opacity. And then also play with another overlay, right? Another overlay can be, typically a totally separate graphic, right? It could be on the same location or a different location. If you want multiple things that cover, a lot of this area here, but not the entirety, you may want to try to, again, use the UV file. It gives you an idea of the shape of that, or just do one graphic that includes it all, and then use that as overlay 1. Because remember, when you want to go on the other side of the hull, uh, if it's becoming an incompatible mirror image like you saw with Orca, then you will need to use overlay 2 to place that image on that. So I will show you my Orca that's currently navigating, and I do have two separate graphic, and I actually treated that as one image, right? I created that as one image, and let's see if I load that one up right now. And do I still there? Here we go. So you see, I've got the Free Willy port side, and one I forgot to change the name, but it's like port side and starboard side. So this would be the starboard side, and you see this is my image, right? And then what I do is basically stretch it. All right. First of all, I'm gonna bring the offset that, let's say, what 0.1, so it brings its way over there, and then I'm going to stretch it across to the right, so on the x-axis, and I'm going to make that, let's say, 1 to start with, right? And that's way too much, obviously. So zero point 0.7 maybe, right? And basically then play with those numbers until you get what you want, right? Takes a little bit of patience and everything, but you can then obviously arrive to what you want. And then what I did, uh, I painted this hull the same color uh, of the black I have here. So basically, it is then matching, right? So if I go back up there and change that to black, and so I forgot what color, but I had to find this color, and I use the number to actually match it. You can also do this in PowerPoint, right? You can copy your color, get the number code, and then you can use that. So my sticker here and the hull ended up with the same background color. Okay. Um, and that's pretty much the extent of it, right? So quite a lot of playing. One thing also I didn't show is if you're using texture, uh, as a graphic, right? There's a couple of more options depending how vibrant you want it, things like that. You can change the smoothness. Do you want it more metallic like or not? And then of course you can say okay, if that area becomes wet, right? It's splashed with water. What do you want? And then you have do nothing, just show it as is, or add water droplets. So if you zoom in, you could actually see that on the boat, which typically on the hull you probably want. Show dark spot, make shiny, whatever, right? There's these are a few options, and then just basically play with that, and um, what I say, yeah, play with that until you're happy. Try different things and so on. If they are graphics you no longer want, let's say that I'm going to go back here, right? This is the list, Dave. This is, well, I never used this. Like this one right here, I never used it. I had planned it for sale, but then it didn't look good. You can go ahead and delete it. You can change the name, you can delete it. And then, yeah, I'll remove that from the library so it takes less room on the server, right? And it will then clean up. But again, all those graphics you have here will be available for all your boat. Okay. So let's take a look at a couple of boats. There's a few more things I want to point out. So I'm going to go to my free wheel here, and there it is. And as you see here, I actually changed the top of the hull to a black, right? And you see the side and the hull there, they got good matching color, right? And then of course did that from the front side and the back side. I do have my flag. If I bring some sails up, like on the Jeep, for example, let's bring that guy up. I did a design also using the UV file for the jib, right? And there I basically cover the entire sail with the blue color and the name Orca. Right? And let's see, I could bring the mainsail up as well since I'm facing the wind. And as you see here, I do still have those half round, but I was able to reduce. So for some reason, I thought I was able to get rid of it entirely, but I didn't. So they're still there, but with reduced, they're not so prominent right on the sail. So I guess I was facing the exact same problem. Says, how do I get rid of that? So this one is kind of an interesting problem. And you may have that with other boat. Like I had the partridge, and for some reason there is an emblem of the partridge on the main sail, and you really have to look really close to it to see it because it's really fake. And so I remove it; it's gone, but didn't replace it. Went back to the boat, and it kept on showing up again for whatever reason. And for some reason, one decided, okay, well, I'm gonna put my own graphic in there. And then, sure enough, that one of the partridge emblem never came back. Uh, Why? I could not quite figure that out. But those are little quirks that you're gonna just have to basically adapt to, right? Uh, in this case, right? So let me put this down because this boat is in an event, and I need to keep on going. So let's drop that mainsail, and also the jib. There we go. And then I'm going to just store them. There we go. And put my engine on again. Oh, not that one. There we go. And go full speed. And I'm still on 255. Perfect. And there's an island out there. You can see it with the binoculars. That's kind of my end point. I had like no wind straight at me, so I'm finishing it with the motor. But enough of that. Let's go. Another boat I want to show you that I did is Lagueuse. This is the original boat right here. So this is the boat I did. Uh, I think it's nighttime there, but we should still be able to see it good. But there's a couple of things I want to point out with this boat, because this boat became a little complex. And the main reason for that is because it's a trimaran. Yeah, unfortunately, it's so dark. Right, but I did all the graphic myself on that. But the thing is, with this, is the hull is getting complicated because you have the main hull, and then you have those pontoon, and you need to treat those basically port side and starboard side. So in this case, I really had to use the UV file in order to do that. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go back out, and let's go to the original here, right? And this is when you buy it, this is the graphic it come with, right? And so you kind of we can take a look at that. Oh, what's happening? Oh, here we go. And then the same thing, right? We need to basically look, okay, Behel, what is that? Well, it's this color already, so I know that's not it. So let's go to the next one. Ah, and here now we see a bunch of graphics, right? And you see this is pretty complex. And the reason why is because these were actually laid out on a UV file. There's a UV file for the main hull, and it also includes the pontoon. So let's take a look at that. UV bare hull. Okay, let's go back to our PowerPoint. And yeah, I can get rid of that here, not needed. And let's insert that other UV file. This device, and it should have been, no, not there, here. There we go. There we go. And that's basically the port side, starboard side of each of the pontoon and the main hull. So what you do there? Well, you're basically going to create your graphic and paste it over this, right, the way you want it. So we can take a look. I still have the graphic I kept. So let me remove this. And let's insert from this device, graphics. And there it is. Right. So this is an example that I have put, and this is basically for the pontoons, right? I want everything else to be plain, so I kept on pasting this graphic. As you see, there's some line there, right? So this is one graphic, and so on. And then notice also that if you look, right? There is a port side and starboard side, right? You got to think about that. This is going to be projected. And if you have text and you have to show it correctly, you're going to basically have to reverse your graphic, reverse your text. Now, PowerPoint does not have an easy way to revert the text, but again, there's a good trick for that. If, let's say, I'm going to insert some text here. There we go. And we're going to go like test. You can right click on that and, oh, come on, select it, right click on that. Oh, come on. Save as pictures, right? And so once you save this as a picture, and we're going to say test mirror and put it there and save. I no longer need this, and I'm going to insert it again. Let's see, that should be, there we go, insert. And now this is no longer text, so you can't really edit it, right? But now you can actually uh, flip it around, right? So because it is a picture, I can now, with it selected, I can go to alignment and basically flip horizontally. Align center. Oh, not align. Why am not? Oh, rotate. Sorry, and flip horizontally. And you see now the word test is backward. If you leave it as a text, it will not do that. It will not do it correctly. So the idea is to convert it as a picture, bring it back, and then flip it over. And so you'll be able to then spread those right on top of your graphic, on top of your UV file, and then select everything. So let's delete that. And I'm going to shrink that, and then basically do a control all, so you have everything, select all your text. Right now this is just one picture, but you would select everything and again right click, save as picture, and you then import that uh, into Sailaway 3 as your graphic and place that as a map at this time, a texture at this time versus an overlay, right? And so then that will cover the entire hull and the pontoons and things like that, right? So that it's a little bit more advanced. The good thing, if you do like a textual map, uh, you don't really have to play with location and size because you're covering the entire item, right? You only have to play with location and size if you do overlays. And that, of course, is a little tricky. Now, when you do add graphic, right, oops, you see that the letter actually, you see through, right? So it's important for the text with PowerPoint, that's easy. But sometimes when you do graphics, you want the same thing, right? So if I take this graphic, right, it's a multiple graphic. There's text and then there's the YouTube graphic, right? They're all separate here, as you see. All right, so if I do select them all, right? This is basically what I save as a picture. But when it comes to images, right, you want to make sure you have it as a PNG, right, without background. PNG does not always means that it does not have background. It can come both ways. For that, you will basically have to use then like a paint program or a photo editing program that allows to remove it. Um, well, one thing that I've found really handy that I've experienced, and this is actually how I created this graphic, right? The sailor in the boat. I use Copilot. There are a lot of AI software out there, but once it comes to fine editing and removing background and everything, pretty much all of them will want to charge you a fee. You're going to have to sign up and pay a fee and everything. With Copilot, which is a free AI from Microsoft, it's free, right? Of course, there are advanced feature and everything, but for this, it does it all for free. So I was able to generate my own design, just texting what I want, and it offer me different things, and then I pick the one I like. You can edit it, change it, do this, do that, right? Like you would use Chat GPT if you would, and then at the end, I say, okay, now remove background so I can download this as a PNG file, and he did all that for me for free, right? And then now I've got this nice graphic here. It's mine because it was AI generated, so I'm the only one who has it. Oh, didn't want to do that. Control Z. What I want to do is pick the, well, I'm just going to pick them all. It makes it easy. But because it's a PNG, you see that actually the boat itself, the blue comes right across where there are gaps, right, and around the boat very nicely. Uh, some of the boat, of course, they have seams, they have a color. It will be really hard to match. And then good luck to try to match these guys to the same color, right? So PNG is really the way to go. Uh, Copilot does an excellent job doing that. So I was really pleased with that. And so if we go take a look now at my boat that you saw it early in the video, let's go back to it. So I'm going to cancel out of this and go back to my sabot. There we go. And we're going to go in floating mode. Uh, you see the sail. If you do zoom in, there are stuff going on. There are trims and things. But yeah, I don't have to match the color because it only the graphic, right? And everywhere there are gap, it's matching what's in the background, right? Uh, so Copilot is really cool, and it's very accessible, easy to access too, right? So if you've never tried, I highly recommend it. Basically, go to Edge, right, and if you can type Copilot, actually right here I already have it, but you can type Copilot, you get into Copilot, right? And then uh, I basically tell it what I want. It goes through and generate your graphic, and then you can download it, right? Really easy to use. And of course, depending, you can be very specific, right, on your text or how you want to create this. So it's another thing really to have fun. You can spend hours doing things like that. Uh, but if you want to create great graphics that are really purely your own, uh, AI is one of the key things in order to do that, right? And you'll never have to pay. Nobody can come after you because you created this from scratch, right? It's AI generated, and that's free for all. Right? So definitely something I recommend for you to look at. And again, there are many tools out there, right? There are, of course, Chat GPT to get your prompt. You can go to Canvas or whatever. But at the end, I was never able to get something this good with background removed. That's the key thing. A lot of those tools will allow you to get, yeah, you get a graphic, but when it's time for you to say, okay, please remove the background, then you say, oh, yeah, it's going to be $14 per month or whatever, because now you need to access advanced features, right? So this, no, it does everything for me, right? Now again, how much how much of this you're doing, how specific you want to be. Copilot does have some feature that you're gonna have to buy, but so far I've been able to do all my own uh, very quickly and for free. So highly recommend you guys take a look at that. Okay, and that's it, guys. So again, this is definitely not an expert video, but I hope I give you enough information to get you started and play with it. And then, of course, you can refine this and find out the trick. There's a lot of there's manuals out there. There's thing you can look at how to do. There's of course Sailaway Tree gives you opportunity to modify the boat physically or even create your own boat. But yeah, that's not something I'm going to get into because that takes a lot of time, a lot of involvement if you want to be good at it. For me, I just want to, yeah, put a name, put a color, put a flag, and I'm happy, right? It this makes it my boat, right? At the end of the day. So, hope you guys can have fun with this. If you like this content, again, please subscribe, click the like button. It means a lot to me. Really appreciate it. Feel free to enter comment. I really watch my channel very closely, so I respond to all the question, all the suggestion or whatever. Let me know what you think. This is all good, and I hope to see you on the water soon. Papi Bazooka signing off.